What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time, we're going to be taking a look at The Aviator, directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. The Aviator tells the story of the legendary and eccentric businessman known as Howard Hughes, as played by Leonardo DiCaprio. Okay, I'm going to make this review as short as I possibly can. Basic thoughts on The Aviator. I like it, but I do got problems with it. So let me get to the things that I actually enjoyed. Leonardo DiCaprio, I thought as Howard Hughes did a fine job. I thought Leo was great in the role. He hit all of Howard Hughes' trademark ticks. He really played up Howard Hughes' OCD, his excessive OCD. He did that flawlessly. I thought he did his personality. I thought he played his personality exact. I like the chemistry he had with a lot of the supporting cast, particularly Kate Blanchett, who plays Kathleen Hepburn. I thought those two did fine, have good on-screen chemistry with one another. I thought the supporting cast in this movie all fit their roles well. John C. Reilly's in this movie. I thought he was great. Adam Scott has a nice little role in this movie. We have a little appearance by Alec Baldwin as well, and Danny Houston. So I thought the overall acting in this movie was overall very, very solid. With Leo, with Leo obviously stealing the show with his performance as Howard Hughes. I thought he did a fine job. Production standpoint, this movie is beautifully shot. I love period piece movies. A movie can be mediocre, but I'll give it an extra point just because it's a period piece, and I am a sucker for period piece movies. I just like seeing, that time through a modern day lens, through an aesthetic. It's like looking into a time capsule, pretty much, and that's what The Aviator to me is. When I see the production design, Martin Scorsese and his team really captured, the decades that were where Howard Hughes was at his high point as a magnet. We see the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, and Martin Scorsese captured all that beautifully, from the set design to the costumes and the wardrobe. Beautifully done. Love the aesthetic. Fantastic. The cinematography, this is a beautiful looking movie in general. Visually aesthetic, visually pleasing. Martin Scorsese's direction, as always, is perfect. It's magnificent. He knows how to get the most out of his actors. He knows how to set the mood, set a tone. So yeah, from a production standpoint and an acting standpoint, this movie is great. It's good stuff. Now we get on to the things I did not like. My overall gripe with this movie is that it goes on too long. Now, I don't mind long movies. I actually don't mind long movies at all. As long as the story is engaging enough to keep my attention, I can watch a 3-hour movie, I can watch a 4-hour movie, no problem, and still be invested. The Aviator, not so much. Now, Howard Hughes has a very interesting story, but Howard Hughes' story you can do that story in a 3-hour movie. The problem with this movie is that the pacing can drag in a lot of areas, and I start to lose my attention span. And I found myself kind of nodding off as this movie went on. I thought I was an hour into the movie, and I felt like I was watching this thing for 2 hours. The pacing is very, very sluggish. It's very, very slow. Even though all the actors are doing a fine job, and Martin Scorsese is doing his best to keep this thing as fluid and entertaining as possible, the pacing just drags on. A lot of scenes kind of drag on. It's not like Casino, which has a kinetic, fast pace, but it also has an engaging story that you're invested in from start to finish. It's not like Goodfellas, where you have a story that you're invested in from start to finish. The Aviator, to me, does not have what those two movies have. It doesn't have an engaging enough story. Now, Howard Hughes has an engaging story when you actually research it. And I think Martin Scorsese tried to translate that to film, but I don't think he did it as great. You do get the high points. You get Howard Hughes filming the Hells Angels, filming the Outlaws. Martin Scorsese captures his personal life, where he was messing around with a bevy of different women while also being married. We see, the eccentric side of Howard Hughes, his OCD, compulsive disorder, and how he's just like a little madman. Like, Scorsese captures all that stuff, but like I said, it's the stuff in between that kind of brings the movie down, and it can get really, really talky. And when a movie starts to get really, really talky and doesn't have a whole lot going for it besides talking, it can drag on a little bit. The Godfather, for example, that movie has a lot of talking in it, but it also has but it has an interesting and engaging story that sucks you right in. And I think if you would have cut maybe 20 minutes off the runtime for the Aviator, it would have had a nice, better flow, trimmed down a lot of the talky scenes, and just cut a few of the fluffs out. This movie would have had a much more cleaner, much more kinetic pace, akin to Goodfellas and/or Casino. But because it runs on for 20 minutes too long, it drags on a lot, and I start to lose interest. Now that's just me personally. But yeah, I'm not trying to discredit The Aviator as a movie as a whole, because overall I actually did enjoy it. I thought it was, like I said, it's well acted, it's well made. Scorsese puts on his best effort. I just think the pacing for this movie really affects the overall grade that I'm going to give it. So yeah, as a whole, I'm going to give The Aviator a solid 7 out of 10. It's not a bad movie. It's a good movie. I enjoyed it. The pacing just brings it down a lot. But you have good production value, you have incredible acting, and that's more than enough to give this movie a solid 7. Even without the production design and the acting, this movie would have been much lower. But for me, 7 out of 10. So yeah, those are my thoughts on The Aviator. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like this video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.